Well, hey, my friend. Welcome to Creatives on Fire, the go-to podcast for content creators looking to grow their audience as well as their income. I'm so excited you're here. I'm your host, Melanie Ferguson.
Well, hey, welcome back to the podcast, my friend. This week, I have a special guest, Miss Kara Ward, and she lives here in McKinney, Texas with her two kiddos, and she's a full-time superstar YouTuber. I cannot wait to hear all of the gold that she's going to share with us today. Kara, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Melanie. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited you're here. So we actually met over at our mutual friend, Karianne Wood's house for a little blogger meetup. That was fun over Christmas. And I got to know a little bit more about Kara and what her business is all about. And lo and behold, she is literally killing it over on YouTube. So tell us like a short version of your story, like how you got started to where you are now.
Sure. So our story is pulls on the heartstrings a little bit. So during 2020, my husband worked in events. So his job was one of the very first ones to get cut when we all were sequestered into our homes. And I always say it was like the worst April Fool's Day because it happened on April 1st. And I'll never forget, he came into the room and said that he had lost this job that he just really, really loved. It was devastating in so many ways. And like you said, we have two kids, they're teenagers. We had just moved into a house that was sort of like our dream home. And then this huge shift happens, right, in our family life. And there was a lot of fear, to say the least. And not only that, but we had over $60,000 at that point in debt that we had accumulated through my son's medical treatments. So here we are without a job, two kids to feed, a house that we love, and just massive debt hanging over our heads. And we literally didn't know what we were going to do next. So throughout that week, we had decided, by this time we're all locked in our houses. We're getting bored. My husband and I had been looking at our personal furniture that we had in our room that we'd actually gotten as a honeymoon gift. That's how old it was, pushing like 20 years old on this furniture. And I was like, I hate this. It's so dated. And we had watched some YouTube videos and I was like, let's paint it. Let's just see what we can do. So we painted it and I put these just terrible staged pictures on Facebook. At that point, I wasn't thinking anything about what was about to come. And I had friends reach out to us and say, hey, we really love that. It looks really good. Would you do that to our furniture? And we were shocked because, this was not anything that was in our wheelhouse. We'd never done anything like this before. I've always called myself like the Pinterest fail mom because I am not crafty in the least bit. It's just not, I'm not that way at all. Like I'm very numbers oriented. So the craftiness doesn't come easy to me. And we couldn't say no at that point because we really needed the income. And so we said yes. And we said, with the caveat that we really don't know what we're doing. And so I can't promise you that it's going to turn out amazing, but I'm willing to give it a shot. And they basically were like, it's all right. We hate it anyway. So if it's ugly, it's ugly. A lot of people were very gracious with us. And so furniture started showing up in the driveway, 6 feet apart, of course. And we would take them in and work our magic. And we worked like crazy. We had so many custom orders coming in. And at one point, we finally looked up and realized, oh my gosh, I think we're onto something. And so that's when we started buying pieces off of Facebook Marketplace or finding them on the curb and taking them home and selling them. So we worked like crazy people that first year. I mean, people ask me all the time, how many pieces a week do you think you flipped? And we were anywhere between 4 or 5 or 6 pieces a week, flipping between custom orders and things we would pick up. And that was to pay the bills. I mean, very honestly, truly, that was to pay our mortgage and everything else that we needed to pay. So we were hustling all of 2020. We hustled. And at one point, I mean, it was probably near the end of the year, we looked up and sort of looked at each other and realized that not only had we managed to keep our home, but we had also paid off all of that debt.
Wow.
By flipping furniture.
So amazing.
Yes.
So when did you start recording yourself?
So right around that time, we've always been big Dave Ramsey fans and lived the Dave Ramsey principles. And I attribute a lot of our success to Dave Ramsey. He's the one who taught us how to, keep our heads above water during all of this. So made a sign on my personal Instagram page, and of Chris and I, my husband, in the garage holding the sign showing how much debt we had paid off. I posted it to my personal Instagram page. And the next day, someone from Dave Ramsey headquarters reached out and said, "Will you drive up here and be on the show and have Dave interview you?" By this time, we're pushing into 2021. So a lot of the restrictions are being lifted. People are starting to go places. So we said, absolutely, let's get this scheduled. And during those back and forths, they had said to us, have you picked up a camera to film this? And I was like, no, like I've been in hustle mode. Like that's the farthest thing from my mind, right? It was fight or flight during that first year. So picking up a camera was nowhere near my thought. It was just like, we need to eat. And they were literally like, why? You need to now, just hang up the phone and go press record because you have something here. So it was that initial email that got us like, oh, we really should be picking up the camera. We didn't know what we were doing. I mean, I always say that YouTube is a lot of trial by fire. Like no one goes into this really knowing what they're doing. It's just throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what's going to stick. But it stuck. It stuck.
I'm curious, why YouTube out of all the platforms?
I think it was what I was most comfortable with. Again, I have no background in this whatsoever as far as content creation, influencer, nothing. I mean, I was coming from nothing with this. And YouTube was where I learned. I mean, one of my closest, dearest friends, who was actually the person that taught me to flip furniture, we did not know each other at the time. She was just somebody I watched on the screen, and she's just come into my life in this magnificent way. But Christina Mascari from Pretty Distressed, I mean, she was the videos that I binge watched to learn how to flip my own furniture. So I will always attribute her to being, the one that really helped change our lives.
She's fantastic. And I will link her episode below too in the show notes for those of you who aren't familiar with her. But yeah.
Yes. So that was kind of all we knew, it was YouTube. I didn't go on Instagram or anything like that to get my inspiration or learn how. It was watching her on YouTube, quite honestly. So when I was thinking of picking up a camera, that's where my brain went. And then the other part was, I feel like back then Instagram was still just the still pictures. They hadn't dove into reels and things like that. So I was thinking more long-term content. Obviously, it takes a long time to film flipping a dresser. So when you're thinking, long-term, that was really the only thing in 2020, early 2021, where you could show step-by-step processes.
I love that. So basically, YouTube was where it was at because number one, that's what you're familiar with. That's where you learned what you knew up to that point. And then also you knew that flipping a piece of furniture wasn't a 1-second situation. And the place that most common sense tells you is YouTube because it's for long form. So that makes total sense. So what was your journey on YouTube getting started to where you are now?
Sure. So we were super blessed again, just by having that idea sparked that we should pick up the camera. But our page was monetized in 5 months, just shy of 5 months, which is a pretty big thing. I mean, I think it's really important for people that want to dive into this just to understand that a typical YouTube channel doesn't get monetized until they're about 1.5 years into their journey. That's the usual time for a YouTube channel to get monetized. So if you're thinking about doing this, just realize that there's some time up on the front before you're going to bring home a paycheck. So the fact that we did that in 5 months was pretty incredible. And we were very excited about that. And I also want to caveat this to as I said before, I'm super math and numbers and money and goal oriented. So I didn't get into this thinking, oh, I just want to record my day. No, it was this is going to be a stream of income or else this isn't worth it for me. So we very much joined the YouTube game thinking this is going to be another way to make money, not just to record my day, if that makes sense.
There to be a vlogger. You were literally for to make an income, another income.
Yes. Yeah, I wanted to help pad So we didn't have to work so hard and flip so many pieces of furniture because it's very taxing on the body to flip that many pieces. And having come out from a year of doing that just nonstop, something had to give. And like, we knew that, like, we can't keep going at this pace. So that's where the YouTube channel came in also. We were like, there's got to be another stream of income to this, which is another reason why we picked up the camera. So
I love that. And so when you started getting monetized, I know it wasn't just out of the gate, you didn't have to paint anymore. How did that progress?
So that takes a little bit of time. Even that first paycheck isn't like thousands of dollars. It might have been, I don't know, maybe $100. I have no idea. It wasn't very much, but at least it was like, oh, okay, this is really gaining some traction. This is going somewhere. I'm going to keep pouring into this because I see the value here. So I would say the first thing that really happened is that number one, we realized that at the start of 2021, my husband got a job, so he was able to go back to work full time. I also had a part-time job that I had had forever in the medical field, which, didn't go anywhere during COVID. So I was still working that, and we sat down and just evaluated our budget as we do the beginning of every year. And he said, it doesn't make any sense for you to keep this job. You are making 3 times as much at the furniture than you are from this part-time job, and you're able to be home all day. So when I go back to work, I think you need to start to make a way where this becomes your full-time gig. So that started in 2021 as far as being able to not have a 9 to 5. Then shortly after that, I think it was maybe around the 6 to 8 month mark where the YouTube channel really started to make a decent sort of income for a part-time YouTuber on top of the furniture. And then I noticed, okay, now we can stop taking custom work, because some people really love custom work and it's really great money, but it's also, you have to work with people. You have to work with their demands, their wishes. Furniture can take a turn on you in a second. A piece can bleed through, or you didn't use the right product, or you're not getting the finish that you expected or that they wanted. And then that adds an extra level of stress because now you're trying to please somebody and you are getting paid for your work. So the moment when we were able to be like, oh my gosh, we don't have to take custom orders anymore, like, that was huge. And the other thing to that, if people are interested in how YouTube works and doing this line of work, most custom orders, people like during this time period, everything was white or black. So they'd bring a dining room table, paint it white. Dining room table, paint it black. There's only so many times you can show that on YouTube until it's not interesting anymore. There's just another way to spin it. And so that was really limiting what I could tape throughout the week because that's the same project over and over. So something had to give. And so it was a really like, oh, this is a turning point. And I hit that mark where I was like, I don't have to take custom work anymore because of what YouTube is bringing in. So that was a big shift as well. And then I think the second shift was, I think when we were around, I want to say 12 to 15,000 followers, that's when the brand deals started coming in. And they start coming for you around those marks. And that just adds another layer of income to our everyday life.
So did you replace those custom orders with whatever you wanted to make that was maybe a different color or a different finish? Or did you leave that content spot blank?
No, I replaced it with things that I thought would be interesting to watch on YouTube. So I got to flip the mindset from, oh my goodness, I have to do this because I have to pay this bill as far as taking in the custom order, to, oh my goodness, I get to create something that's going to draw more viewers, more eyes to the page, more subscribers, because I'm flipping something that's going to be unique. Or maybe it was like I love turning 80s pieces into MCM pieces. I think they are just the perfect canvas for that. So I did a lot of that in the early times because that's when the boho look was coming in really strong. And so I could flip those really well and make a really good profit on Facebook Marketplace, but I wasn't getting a ton of those in for custom orders. We were still stuck in like the farmhousey, chippy, and that was never really my vibe. Although I feel like 80% of my custom orders, that's what they were asking for. But there are wonderful people on YouTube that provided that, and I wanted to go in a different direction, a different aesthetic. And so I found it very rewarding to be able to just stop those custom orders. And like, I really remember that time period where I was able to say, I don't need to take these anymore and I can actually create content that's going to get eyes onto this, and it's something I enjoy, and I get to sell it on Facebook at that point and make a really good profit. Because at that point, there wasn't a lot of people in my area that were creating those types of looks. They were still, again, into the farmhouse. And so that opened up a whole nother area for me, because then I was able to start charging around $800 or $900 per dresser. Before, I was kind of stuck in the $400s and $500s because there's so much competition. But then when I started being able to provide those looks that not everyone was doing, but was still desired, it just really doubled what I could ask for my projects.
I love it. And then you could also do less of them.
Exactly. So if I wanted to take a week off, now I had that advantage to do that.
Yes. So you were starting to tell us a little bit about brands. And I know this is something that you and I talked about when we got together, and how that has absolutely been a game changer for some of your monetization over on YouTube. Tell me how someone could get started with that and what it looks like.
Sure. So I think just my number one wisdom for that is, again, like, understand that this is going to take time to build. It is a very rare occasion that someone comes out that gate, gets monetized, gets 100,000 subscribers. It happens, but it's very rare. So it is a lot of hard work. It is a full-time job. You do have to be consistent on the platform. That's one thing that brands look for. You have to show consistency. You have to show, you're at least going to show up once every week, every 2 weeks, whatever it is. You can't do 1 week on and then you ghost for 3 months and then you come back. Brands typically do not like that. They want people to see what they're promoting in your video. And so you need to show up. So that's the first part of this that I think is important to know when you're wanting to dive into this business. And like I said, I don't think brands started coming for us until we had hit over 10,000 subscribers. I might be wrong. It might have been closer to 8, but I really don't think it was. I think we were closer to 10. And again, I knew nothing about this world, so I wasn't actively pitching brands. I don't know that I could have gotten them. Maybe I could have gotten them before I hit that 10K, 12K mark. Maybe I could have. But they didn't start pouring into the inbox until then. So when they started doing that, again, I'm a business background. So I was thinking, okay, you're coming after me. This isn't me like bowing down to them. I very rarely did anything for free product unless it was something I really, really wanted, because the truth is you are creating a commercial for this brand. You are doing all of that legwork, and you have to remind yourself, if this company went out and hired a crew and an actor and booked out that time to make a commercial, what would that cost them? That's what they're coming to you for. So don't do it for a chair, like whatever they're offering you. That's not a good return on your income or your time. If you feel weird about charging tons upfront, that's understandable if you're still a small creator, but you should still be getting paid for your time, because not only are you taking that slot of time to create something for them, this is something that's going to live on your channel pretty much indefinitely unless you decide to pull that off. So that is constant, that their product is going to get seen on your channel for 4, 5, 6, 7 years, however long you choose to keep it up there. So just remembering that when brands come knocking, it's not you that has to bow to them. This needs to be a mutual agreement and understanding.
Definitely. I second that. So you started taking brands on. And I think that now, if we fast forward to today, you have an agency that you work with, and you kind of have a brand each video. So that's become part of your income strategy, correct?
Yes, most definitely.
And so how has that changed the landscape of what you have to do on the daily?
Oh, it changes quite a bit. Obviously, the brands that you work with, they have time constraints of when you need to turn in, the first draft to them, and they usually get one extra draft to change something that they don't like in your script. So you need to build that into your week as far as if they have changes, when are you going to do those? So getting it to them, that first draft as soon as you possibly can. And that way they have time to make revisions and you have time for a reshoot. And then that has to be approved again before it can land into your content. Just realizing that that takes time. And now you're working with not only yourself, but maybe 2 or 3 other people that are seeing your project and building that time into your week. So normally when I sit down and I look at my week, I have to look at what is coming up in the next 2 to 3 weeks as far as brands go and realize that like, so I'm a homeschool mom. That's another, I homeschool my 2 kids. And it's not every day of the week that I want to get glammed up, right? And do my hair and makeup and all that kind of stuff. So I'll look at my weeks and be like, okay, what days am I getting out of my pajamas?
Exactly.
And yeah, so it's kind of
How to get in this business.
exactly.
Having that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I'll look at that and be like, okay, Tuesdays, I've got some other appointments. I'm going to need to get dolled up that day anyways. Let's see if we can like block out chunks of time that I can get these sponsor portions filmed. So I don't want to work all the time. Like you said, like this is one of the perks to this job. So I really like to look at my schedule and see when they need things and when I can work it in because I don't want to be dolled up all the time.
Yeah. So tell us, Kara, a little bit about you are in a special program. Tell us about that and maybe a tip or two, like how we could possibly participate in something like that.
In the YouTube Shorts,
Yeah.
YouTube Shorts one. So YouTube, when you are a YouTuber, YouTube is a really great job to have for many reasons, but YouTube is great back to you. So that's a big perk that I think some of the other platforms are missing a little bit. So YouTube is great back to you. I know we were talking before we hit record that always when you are in the back end of your YouTube, let's see if I can explain this, without seeing it. But when you're in the back end of YouTube and you can see all your analytics and things like that, sometimes at the top, there's these little bars that pull up and they'll ask you to take a survey or answer some questions. And I learned this from another creator really early on. She said, never skip those. Never skip them. Even if they seem completely irrelevant to what you're doing, always hit accept and start taking the survey. Because normally there are 5 or 6 questions. They're not very long. Most of the time, nothing comes out of them. But some of the time, things really do come out of them. And I've been just really, really blessed by that program 2 or 3 times now, just by taking those little surveys. So one of the ones I took at the beginning of last year, it was 2023, and they were sort of asking creators who showed up regularly what they thought about some of the changes that were coming, if they had input or whatever. And then at the bottom, there was just a section as far as, do you have any other comments for us? It was very vague, that feel like a question that's asked on a lot of surveys. And normally people say no, or they can't think of anything. But I just remember very specifically thinking like, I need to tell them my thoughts of what my next year look like as far as this platform's concerned. So I just put it out there in that comment section. And I wrote about my goal last year was to get my play button on YouTube and just really honing in on what I do and how to make my content better. And I asked them if they had any suggestions or if there's people that they could put with me to work with me to help me reach those goals. And that I just spoke to I'm consistent. I show up every Saturday at 9:30 a.m. I'm here talking to my fans and stuff like that. So how do I continue to grow and have this be an asset to both of us? Probably a really, really long-winded comment that they don't get very often. So, that could have caught their eye. I'm not really sure. And it was 24 hours later, I had, YouTube in my inbox saying, hey, we have this shorts program coming up. We've heard you. We've seen what you are wanting to do within this next year, and we want to help you get there. And so I had someone assigned to me that emailed me every single week, that watched my page, that gave me tips, that told me what to do. And then, if you post shorts content within, they ask you to do certain things, or these are certain trends that are coming. And so they keep an eye on that and they help promote you and they help post. I don't want to say they boost your content because they don't do that, but they help promote you. And they sort of I favor you is probably not the right word either, but they really, really come in and support you because this is beneficial to them and to you. So you're drawing people to the platform, which is what they want. And then you're saying, okay, I'm getting eyes here, but I really want you to help me get better at this. So they're going to help you get better because the more eyes you draw, the more it helps both of you. And so they have a lot of programs like that people don't know about to help people reach these goals. So I've been really fortunate to be in that. They did a Shop Star program as well, where they really helped people build out YouTube shopping last year. I got to be a part of, and they're rolling out some really fun ones this coming year as well. So always take those surveys. You never know when they're going to pay off, and let them know how you feel, because this is a mutual job. So just remembering that.
I love that advice, and I cannot wait to start answering the quizzes and the survey. I know in I've been like X out, X out. So super, super gold tip. I appreciate it so much. Okay. How do you do it all?
I don't know.
I mean, tell us the secrets.
I schedule really well. I'm type A personality. I have a physical planner that I work off of every single week. I have days that are untouchable. By that, I mean nothing gets scheduled in them. We don't have a dentist appointment. We don't have a chiropractor. We don't leave the house. That's mom's day to work. My kids know that we homeschool from 9 to 2:30. That is their time. And at 2:30, mom is out in the garage or she's sitting behind a desk. And from 2:30 to 6, when I have to get up and, my husband is amazing. He's wonderful. He normally makes dinner every single night. He does all the stuff when he gets home because he knows I have to work. So our schedules are sort of flip-flopped in that way. I mean, I'm here, but I'm working. So he really helps take over when he gets home in the evening, because that's my valuable time. That's when I have to get things done. So that's really how I run it. And then, when we have to make appointments or leave the house, those are scheduled in on certain days, and I know ahead of time. And I try to block everything schedule-wise, as far as if I'm leaving the house, I'm going to do 3 or 4 things and not have them interrupt my entire week. So it doesn't always run that way. Life happens, as we know. But on paper, when I'm planning it, that's how I try to fit everything in.
Well, I think it's amazing. I cannot believe we've gotten this far in the episode. And we still haven't talked about the name of your business. So tell everybody the name of your business and where they can find you online.
The name of my company is Lemons to Lemonade Furniture, and you can find me under that name on all of the platforms. So that is my main YouTube handle, is Lemons to Lemonade Furniture. Same thing over on Instagram. On Facebook, I do have 2 separate ones. One's Lemons to Lemonade Furniture, and one is Lemons to Lemonade Home. I am migrating a little more to the home one. Again, it's just sort of a strategic move to get out of being so pigeonholed to furniture. I do want to move into more aspects of the home as this continues. So we'll continue to move that direction as we go along. And I feel like I really want to bring in the financial part. Is really near and dear to my heart. A lot of people struggle with debt and credit card debt. I mean, over 80% of people are in debt with more than 10,000, 20,000. I don't remember the recent statistic, but it's high. And so I think it's really encouraging to have people come along and hold your hand and say hey, you can do this, and teach you how to do it to overcome that and not have that hang over your head. So that was another reason why we kind of we're transitioning into the home aspect of it, because I want to cover a whole lot of just different subjects and not just the furniture.
Okay, my friends, did you hear that? Kara started with one thing, though. One thing, she blew it up, and now she's free to add in other things. And I love the other things. And I'd love to have you back on as a guest to kind of talk to us a little bit about that specific topic when it comes to finances and creatives that you don't usually kind of mix very well. So I'm excited to maybe have you back on for that. What do you say?
I would be honored. I'd be beyond honored. I love sharing those tips. I love to get people to the place where we are, because we've been on the other side and we know what it feels like, and we know how free it feels to have that off of your back. So I will be happy to do that.
Yes, this has been absolutely, absolutely amazing. Oh my gosh, you've blown my mind over so many parts of YouTube that I never knew about. And I'm super excited to go find a survey to answer.
Don't click out of them anymore.
I know. Well, thank you so much for being on. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bye.